Well, let's bring in Eric Mandel. He's the founder and director of the Middle East Political Information Network and a senior editor for security at the Jerusalem Report. Welcome to the programme, Eric. Good to see you as always. So we've got J.D. Vance coming to Israel tomorrow. Two Trump envoys are already here. Is there a risk, Eric, that Israel will be asked to compromise security in order to keep this peace plan on track?
In a word, yes. I think we have to take a step back and see how we frame this. I think we need to realize that even though at the same time it is incredibly important that Israel show no daylight between itself and President Trump, Israel's interests don't always coincide with American interests. And right now we're getting lots of different spinning of what's come out. There's things about that the last report was talking about Hamas, the president taking Hamas's story. That's a little troubling. I think the bigger issue is that they don't push back.
That the Hamas leadership was not responsible for yesterday's attack, that this was rogue elements within Gaza. You think President Trump is buying that?
Yeah, I think that's a convenient excuse. Hamas is there. The deals with Hamas has shown in the past with other groups like Palestinian Islamic Jihad that it can get them under control. So I would not buy Hamas stories. The end of the day is what comes out of this. And what's come out of this is 2 dead Israeli soldiers, 3 injured. They came out of tunnels. And so the situation is that Israel had to make a response. I congratulate Israel's response because what it did was it advanced everybody's interest, because to my mind, it seemingly to the world was disproportionate. And that's what you have to do. If Hamas, you're going to have consequences that are disproportionate when Hamas breaks things. It can't be a little tit for tat and then and going forward. So I think that's a major mistake, and I think Israel will not fall into it. We have to remind ourselves that Israel is different than pre-October 7th. It is not about managing. It is not about containing. It's not about just a proportionate response. Israel is now about preemption. And whether we're talking about the North or we're talking about the South, Israel cannot let provocations by Hamas go unanswered.
Do you at least see signs that President Trump is coming around to the idea that Hamas is not going to disarm voluntarily? And what options are there on the table other than the IDF having to resume the war?
I think anybody who thinks that the international force, now the latest one is Turks, Indonesians, Egyptians are going, and Azeris are going to go in and risk their lives to disarm Hamas, dismantle the tunnels. I think that is fanciful. And when they see body bags of their soldiers coming back, they're going to lose their will to fight. Hamas knows this. Hamas is playing the long game. So when we talk about a phase 2 right now, we're still in phase 1. Phase 1 is about Hamas trying to drag this out as long as it can by slow walking the release of the hostage remains. They're doing this to dominate and remain the dominant force by intimidating its opposition, and it wants to be brutal about it. And, one day President Trump goes one way, and another day the president goes on something else. But really what should be happening here, because everything that I read here in America is it's all up to Israel to make the ceasefire work and all these things. The real answer is President Trump and Witkoff and Kushner really need to be leaning on Turkey and Qatar, who are Muslim Brotherhood themselves and are the sponsors of Hamas and who are the ones who got them into this deal. They need to deliver now to get Hamas quiet. And then that gets to the point that Hamas, if they can be gotten to be quiet and not be provocative, but that means they really do control their areas, and we shouldn't fall for their excuses.
Do you think President Trump is reluctant to lean too much on Qatar, and is there anything Israel can do about that?
Yeah, well, there's no doubt for lots of reasons, lots of speculation. I think we should touch upon the 60 Minutes episode yesterday, which basically Witkoff and Kushner said there was a sense of betrayal that Israel struck Doha. There is no way that President Trump didn't know about this. And they said that that Qatar lost its confidence in the United States and Israel keeping its word. I think what really happened is the more plausible reason is that Trump said okay to the Qatar strike because the Qataris were not delivering. And I think it is troubling when you see Witkoff with all praise for Qatar and no, at least public expressions that Qatar is the Muslim Brotherhood, and it is the money, the support, the sanctuary of all types of Sunni jihadists. And so it gets to the phase 2, phase 3, whatever it is, about who is going to de-radicalize Gaza. Are we going to trust the Qataris? And what we really need is the Saudis and the Emiratis involved, and less the Turks and the Qataris. But I don't see that happening with the administration at this time.
Yeah, some tricky dilemmas coming down the line, aren't they, Eric? Thank you very much indeed, Eric Mandel there.
My pleasure.